Welcome to Perfectville, your first place podcast for your last place Miami Dolphins, part of the BLEAV network, presented by Fanduel. I am Sam Marcoux, and I am getting you kickoff ready for the Miami Dolphins, Buffalo Bills, Thursday night. Miami Dolphins come in 0-2 with bad losses to the Colts and the Patriots. The Buffalo Bills are hosting your bad Miami Dolphins in Orchard Park. 2-0 on the season, looking to go 3-0 and completely snuff out any and all hope for the Miami Dolphins here in the 2025 season. Listen, this is going to be a test and a half for the Miami Dolphins. They're coming into this in pretty much the worst case scenario. Going into this season, I thought there was a good opportunity for the Miami Dolphins to be going into Buffalo 2-0 and tied with the Buffalo Bills with the AFC East crown on the line early. That is not the case. At worst, I thought they'd be 1-1. Nope. The Miami Dolphins are 0-2 with bad losses to the Colts, bad losses to the Patriots. Now on a short week with injuries on both the offense and the defense, with tape that's out there that shows that this defense isn't very good, that this offense is disjointed. They got to go to Buffalo. They got to go to Western New York and somehow figure out a way to beat Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills on the road in prime time on a short week. Good luck, Miami. I don't know how you're going to pull this off, but if you do, hats off to you. That would be the only way that Mike McDaniel saves his job, is if he can do what has not been done in the Josh Allen era, and that is for the Miami Dolphins to go to Buffalo and beat the Buffalo Bills in Buffalo. The Buffalo Bills are a perfect 8-0 against the Miami Dolphins since Josh Allen took over as a starting quarterback for the Buffalo Bills. That includes that playoff victory as well. Overall, 13-2. 13-2 is Josh Allen as the starting quarterback for the Buffalo Bills against the Miami Dolphins. That is ownership. What do you say to that other than, yep, that's kind of like when Tom Brady used to own the Buffalo Bills. Josh Allen owns the Miami Dolphins. And it's not just that the team wins, because they certainly win. It's what Josh Allen does in those victories against the Miami Dolphins. Take a look at Josh Allen's career stats against the Miami Dolphins. He has a passer rating of 108.8 with 3,737 yards passing, 37 touchdowns, only 8 interceptions. That's just the regular season. That's 14 games of the regular season right there. That is absolutely bananas. That's over 2 touchdown passes per game. Josh Allen, if he's not the league MVP again this year, he's certainly the MVP of the AFC East and certainly taking full ownership responsibilities of the Miami Dolphins. He'd be a better owner than Stephen Ross at this point. And let's face it, I went on FanDuel and the line actually did move. I told you yesterday the line was 12.5. Favored points for the Buffalo Bills. It's now at 11.5. It's actually shrunk a little bit, which surprised me, but there are some injuries for the Buffalo Bills defense that could come into play here, which shrinks that just a little bit. But the Buffalo Bills are in full control of the AFC East. The Buffalo Bills are in full control of the Miami Dolphins. The Buffalo Bills could end Mike McDaniel's coaching career with yet another victory in Buffalo Thursday night. And if I sound like a downer, well, look, the Miami Dolphins have been a bummer all season long, all century long. For the last 25 years, the Miami Dolphins have been an absolute bummer. And you know what? There is some good news, though. There is some good news, and it doesn't have to do with this team as much as it has to do with this particular podcast, this show that you are listening to, watching to, consuming right now. And that's because in just a little bit of time, a certified, bona fide legend for the Miami Dolphins, Mr. Kim Bokamper is going to be joining us, making his debut in the town of Perfectville. This guy played for the Dolphins. He's a former Pro Bowler. He played in a Super Bowl with the Miami Dolphins, something this current crop has no experience and will not get any experience anytime soon doing. This guy's been around the Miami Dolphins for close to 50 years, 50. He's seen it all. He's done it all. He's gotten the T-shirt. He's got a wonderful podcast right now called To Pasture with Bo and Joe. It's Kim Bokamper. It's Joe Rose. 2 guys combined have more experience being around the Miami Dolphins than just about any other duo you can think of. It's a fantastic podcast. Highly suggest you follow. Give it a listen. In some cases, these shows are only 8-9 minutes long, but it's packed with so much stuff. These guys just know so much. They know how to get into it. They just get right to the red meat. No fat on this podcast. So Bo's going to join us, the original Bo for the NFL. And Bo knows the Miami Dolphins. He's going to come in here. He's going to talk about what he has seen so far this season, what the Miami Dolphins have to do to get better. Can they get better? Do they need to move on from Mike McDaniel? And if so, who should be the interim coach? What do they do long term? What's the long-term outlook for your Miami Dolphins, according to Kim Bokamper? So Kim's going to join us here in just a little bit. The To Pasture podcast. Check it out. Subscribe, like, listen. If you're watching us on YouTube, thank you. We appreciate it. Continue to spread the word. We're growing that audience. Like, subscribe. We're putting all of the videos out there as part of the BLEAV network, presented by Fanduel. Speaking of Fanduel, take a look at this. The Buffalo Bills are favored by 11.5 points against the Miami Dolphins Thursday night. The over-under, I believe, is 50.5 points. As I told you yesterday, take the over. The Buffalo Bills might get that themselves, and that is not a joke. They could easily drop 50 on top of the Miami Dolphins dome. Why? Well, I'll tell you why. Because the Miami Dolphins defense is absolutely god-awful right now. Through 2 weeks of the NFL season here in 2025, the Miami Dolphins have graded out as the worst pass rushing defense in the league, and they're a bottom 5 in pass defense. So the pass defense doesn't surprise me. We knew they were going to be bad. There was going to be growing pains. They were going to have to figure out how to hide that awful secondary with the front 7, but they're not doing it. Early receipts are in, and you know what? This looks like it's going to be historically bad for the Miami Dolphins. Historically bad. They've given up scoring 13 of 15 possessions so far through 2 games. Outside of Bradley Chubb, I'm not sure if anybody else has come to play yet on the defensive line as it pertains to the pass rush. This was supposed to be their bread and butter. This is what they were supposed to be able to hang their hats on and say, yes, the secondary's got to gel, got to grow, but we're going to stop them up front. Nope, not yet. Daniel Jones, Drake May, looking like Peyton Manning and Tom Brady for the first 2 weeks. And then you have actual Josh Allen, who's going to look like Josh Allen Thursday night for the Buffalo Bills. So you can talk all you want about Tua Tagovailoa, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Devon Achane, this offensive line. By the way, Jonas Savaiena, the talented left guard, the rookie who was supposed to be the savior to help shore up that line on the left-hand side. They traded up to number 37 overall in this last draft to get him. Graded out as the worst offensive lineman in the league through 2 weeks. That's not good. But all those things on offense that we talked about, the timeouts because you can't get the play in on time, the personnel that's going every which direction, what they're not supposed to be doing, and Tua's just playing traffic control cop out there. All of those things, yes, they're important. Yes, they matter. They got to get fixed. But the defense isn't helping. The defense is actually hindering this offense more than I think people realize. They're not getting off the field. They're not giving themselves any opportunity to get their breath and recalibrate. And that's the math. We're going to talk to Kim Bokamper about that from the To Pasture podcast. We're going to talk about the Buffalo Bills, 2-0 against the Miami Dolphins, 0-2, Thursday night. Kim's going to be joining us right after these words. Welcome back. Sam Marcoux, Town of Perfectville, BLEAV Network, presented by Fanduel. And as I always tell you, ladies and gentlemen, citizens of Perfectville, I may be alone, but I'm never lonely, and I'm not even alone anymore. I told you at the top of the show that I was going to be joined by a certified legend here in Miami Dolphins land. And here he is, ladies and gentlemen. If you're watching this now or if you're listening, you've heard his voice. Kim Bokamper joining us, making his debut here in the Town of Perfectville. Bo, thank you very much for being here. How you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good physically. Mentally, I'm kind of in about I feel like I'm in the Wizard of Oz, and we're just taking off or landing, one of the others, whichever's the best. But we had a lot of expectations going into this season that have been haven't worked out that way, and so we're kind of in a tailspin. And for me, I'm next year will be my 50th year associated with this football team as a player.
Wow.
And then I did a lot of stuff. I sold tickets. I did just about. So I've been with this team a long time, so it's in my blood. And boy, just to see it, and it look, it was kind of had a, a lot of optimism, and then you get punched in the nose twice, and probably going to be 3 times here in another day or so. So yeah, it's a little unnerving, but it's a long season, and we'll try to maneuver our way through it.
Yeah, it certainly feels like we're in a whirlwind. I like that Wizard of Oz analogy there because it does feel like the house is getting ready to land directly on top of all the Dolphins out there.
Yeah.
It looks like the curtain has been pulled back on Mike McDaniel. There's lots of rumors out there that this could be his last game. And I think if they put up yet another stinker against the Buffalo Bills in Buffalo, a place where they have not won since Josh Allen came into the league, you kind of have a little mini bye week built in there.
Yeah.
Oh, would this be the last game, in your opinion, for Mike McDaniel as the head coach of the Miami Dolphins if they were to go in there and lose by a bunch?
Yeah, well, I think if they go in and lose by a bunch and look the way they did at Indianapolis, which was just a horrendous football game,
right?
And I don't know how you alibi for it. I don't know, and so if you get something like that, I think so. If look, last year they went up there in November, and it was got them, a late field goal, sealed the deal, but they played pretty well up there, and a couple, as has been the course, a couple turnovers really doomed them in that game, but they had an opportunity. So if they go up there and they play well, but just I think everyone believes right now if you play really well against Buffalo and you lose, sometimes it may be a good thing, not a good thing, but I mean a little. But if they go up there and they get blown out, then. But look, you got the other thing is even if he makes it through there, you got the Jets coming up here for a Monday night game, and if you lose to the Jets and you've lost to the Bills and you've lost to New England, you have no shot at the AFC East. I mean, you lost all 3 teams, and so 4 games in. You're out of it, and so I think it's one of those 2 weeks, unless the ship turns around. And I know last week, it's to me they had 2 games in, they had a players only meeting, and when I hear players only meeting, man, I'm like, this reeks of desperation, man.
Yeah.
So we'll see. And look, they're on a short week. I mean, they got everything going against them. So. We'll see.
Let's talk about that players only meeting. When you played, did you ever have a players only meeting? And if so, what was the tone and tenor, and why would you have something like that?
Yeah, I don't think we had many players only. Look, we with my tenure with the Dolphins, we were a pretty good football team. I can remember. I think the only players only meeting I can remember was when we were getting ready to go on strike in '81 or something. We were all deciding what we wanted to do, but. Yeah, you know what? I don't know what comes out of those things, those player meetings. I think everyone wants to air their opinions, and I'm sure you've been in a lot of meetings where you got 10 people in there, 20 people in there, and everyone wants to get their say, but they're saying the same thing, but they're just saying it in their words.
Right.
So I don't think to me it's more of a desperation thing. I don't think it looks good. I don't think it looks good in the 13th week of the season. I don't think it's really good in the first, or just between the first and second week of the season.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, I didn't play professional ball. I think I maxed out in high school. So my players only meetings were basically at my house after practice or after a game when it was like a sleepover and we're having, soda pops and pizzas. So my players only meetings were always nothing but positive, but completely different scenario than what the Miami Dolphins are up against here. And by the way, in case you're listening to this and you're like, whose voice is joining Sam Marcoux in the town of Perfectville? Of course, it's Kim Bokamper from the To Pasture podcast with Bo and Joe. This guy's been with the Miami Dolphins in some capacity for the last 50 years. You heard it from himself. Next year will be 50 years. He's seen it all. He's done it all. He knows what success looks like. He's seen adversity. And this is why I'm so glad you're talking to us right now, because the Miami Dolphins, really for the last 25 years, has been nothing but adversity. But right now, this year, 2025, has been adversity, uphill battle after uphill battle, off the field, on the field issues. Offense looks lackadaisical at times. The coaching has been subpar. The defense, when you just look at the cold, hard facts and the numbers, one of the worst I have ever seen. I mean, in terms of giving up points, I think it's 13 out of 15 possessions so far through 2 weeks. They've given up some sort of score. Special teams giveth and taketh away. We get a punt return for a touchdown, and then we give it right back on the kickoff ensuing. What is it that the Miami have? If tomorrow Stephen Ross called you and said, I need you on the sidelines, Bo. I need you to coach this team Thursday night in Buffalo. What is the first thing that you would do from what you've seen, what you've experienced, and your 50 years of knowledge being around this team? What needs to change for the Miami Dolphins to start having success now?
Well, let me preface that by saying I'm not suited to be a head coach. I'm not suited to be a general manager. I'm a fan like everybody else, but I'm around. So just with my, the first thing I would do is I would take this offense and I would boil it down. They talk about the end of the game, communication, getting plays in. One of the things about Mike, and I've been in I do the color for the preseason game, so I've been in production meetings with a lot of players and certainly with the coaches and with Mike in particular. And from the first time I spoke to him about his offense, he's very verbose with his play calling. They're long play calling. In fact, during the training camp, a couple times I would sit there and I would time the time it took from Tua to stick his head in, make the call, and come out. Sometimes it was 14, 15, 17 seconds of a play call. And so I'd asked him at one point, maybe year two, I said, sometimes you have trouble getting the play calls in there. Have you thought about shortening? No, because he wants to call, he wants to get all the moves in, all the zooms and all the movement in the backfield. And that takes a lot of time. So now you're kind of last week was a good example, but it's got to go to the offensive coordinators talking to him. Then he's got to go to Tua. Tua's got to get it out to them. And I even asked Tua one time, I said, you get to a point with this offense where you hear half of the play, you can finish it yourself. You know what I mean? Because he goes, no, because he always wants to dictate that movement, the movement in the backfield. So you got to wait until you hear the whole package. And so, to me, I would boil it down more to just look, let's not try to fool everybody. Let's just play football. You've got an offensive line that you went and built, and unfortunately, you got two guys on the right side that are one game in, and you lose two of those guys. And you got Jonas Savaianaya, who I think is going to be a very good football player, but he's a rookie, and you throw him right in there, he's going to struggle, and he has. But you got Patrick Paul, and is playing well, and so just go back to the basics. Let's take all the bells and whistles away. Let's just run routes. Let's run the football and do that and start from there. And then I think on the flip side, the defense hasn't played well. That front seven was supposed to be. Look, I myself all training camp. This front seven is the heartbeat of this football team. They're the best unit on this football team, and they're going to be the best unit on this football team. And they haven't played a game worthy of that. Now I think they're the maybe 32nd best defense, or best defense in the league, or whatever. It's 31st, whatever. They're not, they're not doing it. But so I think they're having a problem with what I noticed. Every team is doing this, where they put the two big tackles in the middle, and they're so enamored or so important to get pressure on the quarterback that they're putting two stand-up guys on the outside. And you got your two inside linebackers. And when I first came in the league, I was an outside linebacker. And I had to be ready to play run, and I had to be ready to play pass, and I had to be ready to rush. And all those things take certain different techniques. So you've got two tackles inside, and I'm not saying this is only this football team. You have two tackles playing inside. Now you have Zach Sealer, who's played really well the last 2 years, but in the last 2 years he's had Calais Campbell and he's had Christian Wilkins. He doesn't have a Calais Campbell or a Christian Wilkins now. Now he's got Jordan Phillips, who's playing pretty well. And you got those rookies. But so what I'm seeing is when they're playing the two down linemen, they'll run the football. The teams more than often will run the football, because these outside linebackers, edge rushers, whatever you want to call them now, they're lined up to rush the pass. So they're staggered stance, and you can't go side to side. You can go straight and back, but it's hard. So I think it's a little bit of technique that's hurting them. But if those big guys can stop the run, then it's suitable. So I think you need to fix them. And look, the secondary's played pretty well. from what we thought going in. Certainly got Minka back there playing well. Jack Jones is playing pretty well. Rasul Douglas is come in and played pretty well. Better than I think we thought they would.
100%.
But there's still an issue back there. They're not getting a lot of pressure on the quarterback, meaningful pressure. You're getting guys getting up there. So I think you need to find some way to, because I noticed last game, like when they're running, they would put Jalen Phillips down in 3-point stats. They put Chop in a 3-point stats. That's not what those guys do.
Right.
Yeah,
so
I think there's some technical stuff that you can do, but you've got to clear these guys' heads. You can't. I can't be standing there going, "Am I going to do this or going to do that?" And what's going to? It's just, I don't know if that's a little. I think I maybe went overboard on it, but
no, that's 100% why you're on the show. This is why we're talking to you, because you played the game, you did that job, and you understand and are looking at things from a player's perspective and somebody who's got 50 years worth of experience with this team, understanding what needs to happen. I totally agree with you in terms of the offense and stripping that down. We don't need play calls that are taking 14 seconds off the play clock to get called, because then not only that, but Tua, you could see it out there. He's a traffic control cop. He's telling people to stop. He's telling people to go. He's turning people around. All of that takes time. All of that takes away from him being able to have that pre-snap read and take a look at that defense and understand where he's supposed to go with the ball. They're not aligned. They're not on the same page. I mean, even that interception against the Patriots, Bo, where it got called back because of offsetting penalties. I'm looking at people saying, well, Tyreek broke off that route and went up the field. Yes, he did. Because what I saw, it was Tua ran out of the pocket. So that's probably one of those scramble drills where Tyreek said, oh, Tua's out of the pocket. I'm going up the field. And they're just not on the same page like they have been in the past. They got to figure out how to play as a team. They have all the talent in the world, I think, on both sides of the ball, but they're not a good team right now. And I don't know how to fix that.
It also gives the defense an advantage when your play calls are coming in late, because look, you can, because they know they're going to be snapping the ball probably within 5 seconds of the of the play clock, right? With all they're doing. So if I'm a defensive guy, and they're running all this motion, I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to sit there until 5 or 6 seconds, and then we'll show our coverage.
Right.
Let you guys go, because usually you look at a guy goes in motion, someone goes with him. Okay, man coverage, very simplistic man coverage. Well, if you just stand and you don't go with those guys because they're not going to snap the ball until 5 seconds, 4 seconds, 3 seconds before the clock, we're not going to show them anything early. Now, when it gets to that point, if someone moves, now they'll show them. But that's advantage defense.
Yeah, 100%. And the last thing the Miami Dolphins need to do right now is give any other advantage to a defense, because they are going into week 3 here against the Buffalo Bills. Again, a place that has not been fun for the Miami Dolphins. Again, in the Josh Allen era, including the playoffs, 8-0, the Buffalo Bills are at home against the Miami Dolphins. So we talked about maybe stripping down some of the play calling on offense, getting back to just basic football, a couple emotions, but nothing super crazy. Let the talent speak for themselves. Talking on defense, making sure that our players are in a position to win. I mean, I saw Bradley Chubb on an obvious passing down, drop into coverage. And who do you think they targeted, and who do you think they got the first down on? Bradley Chubb. That's not what you're paying that man to do. You're paying him to get up the field and hit that quarterback. And I feel like they're just not doing it.
I saw in Indianapolis, unless my eyes deceived me, and I looked at a replay, at one point they dropped Kenneth Grant into the middle of the field on a running back. I'm going, well, you're dropping your defensive tackle,
right?
And it was only a short. It was, and he ended up tackling the guy. But I'm going, you're putting your defensive tackle in like some kind of a quasi zone blitz from the middle. That now is a little odd.
It is a little odd. And I hope, again, like I said yesterday on the Finstner Reaction Show, I think the defense will get there. I think the pieces are there. I do like Anthony Weaver. It is going to take a little bit of growing pains. You've got a lot of new and young pieces. It's going to take time to gel. But my fear is by the time they figure that out, it's going to be too late into the season. We're going to have too many losses, and we're not going to be able to actually compete here in 2025. And at that point, you're hitting that reset button, and you're probably doing the dreaded rebuild with a new coach, new general manager, and possibly new quarterback going into next season, and Tyreek Hill probably playing somewhere else. And that's my fear as a Miami Dolphins fan, longtime Dolphins fan here in Northern California, your old stomping ground. So let's just take a little bit of memory lane here, if I can, with you there, Bo. So if this season doesn't get better, what type of wine can I ship to you to help ease the pain a little bit here. I am in wine country, as you know,
Yeah.
Livermore, California.
Yeah.
Is there a certain wine? Are you a white? Are you a red? Is there a Chard out there? Is there a
Well,
Pinot Noir that I can get?
I'm a red blend guy.
Perfect.
I like red blends. There's a winery in Napa called Frank Family Wines, Frank Family, and they do a lot of blends and Zinfandels and stuff like that. And like I said, I was talking to you off camera that I didn't realize that Livermore had become a wine. When I drove by there, it was just a road sign for the most part when I used
Oh,
to
yeah.
drive by there.
Oh no, we got cheese parlors now. We got winery. There's like 70, 80 wineries, whatever it is now these days here in Livermore. We have turned ourselves into a Walmart version of Napa Valley because some of us don't want to drive all the way up there. But there are some good wineries out here. There's some good breweries. Northern California, as you know, hotspot, hotbed. What was the restaurant? Was there a restaurant when you were living out here that you loved to go to back in your days when you're here in Northern California?
Well, you know what I grew up in Milpitas.
Yeah.
You know Milpitas, and most people, so first of all, when I was growing, we didn't go to restaurants very much.
Yeah.
So I didn't start going to restaurants till I got into college. We would go to McDonald's was, we did popped up, and there was a stampede when they opened up a Taco Bell in our town to get in there. But you know what? There was a place called Original Joe's on First Street in San Jose. There's one in San Francisco. There's one in San Jose. And so that used to be, when I was a junior, between my junior and senior year in college, there was some agents started coming in, and because I started getting timed by scouts and stuff like that. And I'm going, I'm not going to play in the NFL. I came from Milpitas, no one knew anything. So guy comes and knocks my door and he says, "Hey, I can look. I'm not. You don't want me. I'm just. So why don't we just go to dinner and we'll talk. And I go, I'm not making any money. I don't have any money. I was actually managing an apartment building just so I could get free rent. And so I said, sure, you're going to give me a free meal. He goes, where do you want to go? I said, let's go to Original Joe's. I knew it was the most expensive place in town.
Beautiful.
And so we went there again another time. And he would come back maybe every other month or something, or 3 or 4 weeks, whatever it was. But he kind of had a little routine. So I started telling a couple of my friends, I said, hey, why don't you come here Wednesday night? This guy's going to show up probably. And if he does, we'll see. So he comes one night and I got like 2 extra guys there, and he goes, hey, let's go have dinner. I go, nah, I got friends here. I can't leave them here. He goes, nah, bring them along, So now I got, by the end of the year, I had like 4 guys coming with us. And
I love that. So Original Joe's still there.
Yeah,
they're opening one in Walnut Creek, California.
Oh, really?
There's the 3rd location coming up.
Yeah.
But Original Joe's, the original Bo, and he knows the Miami Dolphins. Bo, tell everybody where they can find you. Talk about Out to Pasture podcast. Let everybody know how they can find you on the socials.
Yeah, it's outtopasturePodcast.com. You can catch us on all the all the appropriate podcasts stops, Spotify, iHeart, Apple. And we do videos on YouTube. And so really it's 2 old guys, I'm 70, Joe's like 65, 66, whatever. And we're talking to our people, we talk about, we kind of, it's kind of a nostalgic thing. We talked about with Larry Zonka, Joe Theismann. I think we're going to have Thomas Hollywood Henderson on here shortly. And we try to get guys that are interesting, and we just kind of tell stories and reminisce. And we talk a little bit about when I originally put it together, it was talking about how to so my first premise was, I'm at that time I was 69 years old, and my body's telling me I'm 69 years old, but my brain's telling me I'm 25.
Right.
And so the premise was, keep that 25-year, don't let the old man get into your head. Keep fighting the old man off and just, stay young and talk, work on your health and all this. And so we kind of did it that way, and it turned into being, we were trying to kind of do a little more things, but as the season comes, we do a lot of stuff. And then we do a Friday look ahead at the game. and we do that on X, and on X on game day we do the fastest pregame show in the NFL. We only do 2 minutes of a pregame show, me and Joe Rose, and just throw it out there and get our opinions. And so our Football Friday and our fastest 2 minutes in the NFL, you can find those on X and Instagram and all those other platforms.
It's almost like a well-oiled machine, Miami Dolphins, Mike McDaniel offense when it's going well. That's 8-9 minute drives that have a lot going on in them, and it's always a home run, or in this case, a touchdown. Bo, thank you so much for being here in the town of Perfectville. Enjoy you being here immensely. I'm not going to ask you for a prediction, but what do you think happens in general for the Miami Dolphins when they go up to Buffalo here in just a few short days?
I don't know what's going to happen. I hope. I hope because look, I'm tied to this team, like a bond, and I want to see good things. And there's a lot of really good guys on this football team, a lot of good football players, and I don't think they deserve what they're getting right now. So I hope they kind of get something for them, at least put a good show on, and give you some hope moving on. But I'd say that's I might have to pinch myself and wake myself up after saying that, but I'm gonna lean that way as long as I can until the roof falls off.
There you go. Fingers, toes, and eyes crossed for the Miami Dolphins to pull it out. Miracle in Orchard Park would be fantastic. One last question for you, because I got you here. Out of the AFC East teams, like you just mentioned, if you include the Colts, which is a legacy AFC East team, what is the team that you liked beating up on the most out of all the AFC?
New York Jets.
New York Jets.
I mean, there was that was a bitter rivalry. I mean, and one of the let me tell you, so there's a number of reasons. One, they were the Jets, and during my tenure there, my 10 years there, we had a lot of guys like AJ Dewey, Bob Baumhauer, and Tony Nathan. So we had guys, and then they had Richard Todd. They had guys from the Jets, guys from LSU, and they would come down to Fort Lauderdale during the off season because they didn't want to stay up in New York, and so we'd see them, and we kind of got friendly with them. And to me, it was a rivalry because it was a bitter rivalry, but you had the friends aspect to it, where when they came down here, you could bust their balls all the time because they normally never beat us. I continue to hear the stories about Coach Shula out in the field at midnight before the AFC Championship game, where they water in the field with fire hoses and stuff like that. And it always comes up with those guys. Always comes up, and it's always brings a smile to my face because we kicked your ass, so you can't say anything about it.
You just said something, Bo, and I think we should implement a rule here for the NFL just for this week. I think Mike McDaniel should be allowed to use a fire hose at any point during the game, just one time during the point of play, and maybe just hit Josh Allen with a blast of water and knock him down.
If he had it, I would blast it right in that face mask as much as I could.
Hit him right in that nose that's already broken there.
Although if he turned it on full blast, it might shoot Mike into the stands.
That's a visual, and now I want to see it. I don't know how to make that happen, but I will. Maybe AI can help me visualize that. Bo, thank you very much for being here. Check it out, To Pasture podcast with Bo and Joe. Good luck to our Miami Dolphins this Thursday. We'll catch you next time. All right, welcome back. Special thanks to Kim Bokamper from the To Pasture podcast with Bo and Joe. Just dropping knowledge, 50 years worth of experience and knowledge with the Miami Dolphins. He's seen it all. He's done it all. He told you what he would do, or what he thinks the Miami Dolphins need to do in order to be successful, not just against the Buffalo Bills on Thursday, but for the rest of the season. They really got to strip down the play calling on offense. Just go out, line up, and play football. You got the talent to do it. You'd be surprised what you can accomplish with just those basics. And on the defensive side of the ball, we might be tipping pitches a little bit. We might be showing the offense exactly what we're doing without even realizing it, and allowing that offense to have the advantage. So either way, the Miami Dolphins have to do a better job of keeping whatever advantage they can on both offense and defense, so that they don't get behind the eight ball, because they already are. They're in an 0-2 hole. They're going to Buffalo on a Thursday night. Road dogs, 11.5-point underdogs to Josh Allen, who has never lost to the Miami Dolphins at home since he came into the league. They got to turn it around. They got to turn it around quick. Otherwise, we're going to be talking about a new coach. We're going to be talking about players that are leaving. We're going to be talking about a full-blown rebuild. And my man, Bo, can't do that as he goes into year 50 being associated with your Miami Dolphins. Keep it tuned here to the BLEAV Network. All kinds of fun shows. There's the Buffalo Bills shows that are out there. There's the Patriots shows that are out there. There's the Raiders. There's the Niners. There's the Packers. There's any and all flavors of NFL shows here on the BLEAV Network, presented by Fanduel. I'll be back before kickoff to get you even more kickoff ready for your Miami Dolphins and Buffalo Bills. We'll jump into the line. We'll jump into the spread. We'll jump into the odds. We'll jump into the anytime touchdowns and some of the other things and other ways you can enjoy this game other than just straight Dolphins fandom, courtesy of Fanduel. That's coming up later this week as we continue to get you kickoff ready, and we're hoping that the Miami Dolphins will be kickoff ready in Western New York in just a few short days. But until then, just remember that nobody is perfect except us. So on behalf of myself, Sam Marcoux, the entire BLEAV Network, Kim Bokamper from the To Pasture podcast with Bo and Joe, presented by Fanduel, the only thing left to say is goodbye from Perfectville. Later.